that. Okay. Oops. Oh, crap. Okay, yeah, that is good. Right, so Charge of the Light Brigade. Okay, what do you take from the title straight away? If I could ask that question, please, to John, does anything leap out at you from that title?
The charge.
Yeah. Why charge? What does charge suggest to you?
They're just running as fast as they can. They're not thinking. They're just heading towards a place.
Yeah, yeah. You know, charge. It's full of energy. Yeah. And as you said, it's that sort of idea of running without any sort of a sense of, you know, sort of where you're heading for, sort of thing. And bit like as I mentioned to my forum group the other day, currently my binge watch in lockdown 3 is Vikings on season 4, part 2. And in Vikings, you know, we were just saying their tactics in a battle tend to be the same thing over and over and over and over. You know, well, it's two things: shield wall, and then just basically run and charge. So it's that kind of sort of mindless action. You just go full head on here. Okay, so it's the charge of the Light Brigade. And then we have the first stanza, and I'll just read it to you. And I want you to tell me, does it listen to the sound and the rhythm of the words, and let me know if it reminds you of anything. Okay, so we've got half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death. Road to 600, forward the Light Brigade, charge for the guns, he said, into the valley of death, road to 600. Now that half a league, and if you just kept that doing, does that give you a sense of any movement or motion of anything? Half a league, half a league.
Galloping.
That is it. Was that you, Clem?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and it is spot on. And that makes perfect sense because it's about cavalry, isn't it? It's about cavalry. Okay, and so that's what you're getting, that sense of motion. It's almost like you are there with them. So yeah, if you think of that sort of galloping horses, that we have here. Okay. Now, what connects the next two words that I'm going to highlight for you? So we've got forward, charge. What are they? And I asked that question of Oliver.
I don't know, like charging forward, emotion.
Yeah. Think of the words themselves. Forward, charge.
Oh, like imperatives.
They are, aren't they? And this poem is absolutely chock full of them. Yeah, we've got imperatives, commands all over the place. Looking at the next verse, where again are commands used? Tell me where to highlight in yellow. Where's another command, please, in the second verse?
Forward again.
Yeah, so we've got forward again. Anybody can pitch in here now. Please don't be shy. Another command and another imperative in the second verse, please. There's one other that we could highlight.
Make.
No. Remember, imperative is just basically is do it now.
Okay.
Say slow, right? Road, yeah, road to 600, yeah. And then we go into the third stanza, yeah, again, commands, yeah, okay, road again, and this carries on all the way through, commands, imperatives. Now, if we're thinking here, this is a poem about a military event, yeah? Why does it make sense to have so many commands and imperatives in a military poem?
Because soldiers take orders and that's it.
Yeah, good, yeah, spot on. They do not question, do they? They just simply follow orders, carry out, do as they're told. And this is going through this. Okay. Then Philippa, if I can come to you next. On line 10, whoops, line 10, we have, was there a man dismayed? What technique's been used there? And I think
A rhetorical question.
very good, yeah. You remember from yesterday, spot on. Yeah, it's the rhetorical question that is just being thrown out there. Yeah, good. Make sure I get the right colour. Pen, ink, set, boom. So we'll get the rhetorical question there. And what is the answer that everybody's screaming at this poem, Philippa, in their minds?
What the
Yeah, what's the answer? What's making you chuckle so much?
I've got a load of puppies.
Right, so right. So yeah, you get the rhetorical question: was there a man dismayed? And what do you think the audience scream back at this poem as they read it?
I don't know.
John, what do you think they scream back?
I don't know, sir.
Really?
Well, I don't know.
Well, right. The question, right? A rhetorical question. Remember, the rhetorical question. You don't have to answer it back because the answer is obvious. So, what is the obvious answer that Tennyson is planting in your mind here? Get the idea?
Oh yeah.
Everybody's going to scream back, no, because this is a poem which is, you're saying, what a great achievement this was, even although it was an absolute military disaster. You know, wasn't a man. No, they weren't. They were brave, they were courageous, they were bold, they just steamed on. Yeah. Okay. And you can see it's just sort of buried here, isn't it? Just buried away. Look, it openly admits. It openly admits someone had blundered. But interestingly, you know, again, no name mentioned. Why do you think there's no name mentioned when it says someone had blundered? That question to Penny. Why do you think it remains nameless when it says someone had blundered?
Is it because soldiers like don't have personalities and they're just seen as like soldiers and like parts of the war?
Brilliant, brilliant, really good answer there. Yeah, exactly so. And so we get no sense, whoops, no sense of the individual here. No blame, whoops. No blame apportioned. oops, some cracking spelling going on here from me. Yeah, typing at pace. So no sense of it lacks that individual personality, which is different, obviously, to the poem Kamikaze that we looked at prior to this. I mean, although, again, the pilot is nameless, you've got the sense that he is someone's dad, he's someone's husband, that sort of thing. That is a personality that goes with it, and we get a sense of what is going through his mind. Here is that group identity, so it takes away from the pain. I mean, again, just to sort of bring it slap bang up to date, isn't it? I mean, I don't know if any of you watched that programme last night on BBC One Panorama, but it's that idea we hit that horrific milestone yesterday of 100,000 deaths. And, you know, you look at a group of 100,000, it's a horrible figure, it's a huge number, but what really drives it home, what really makes it painful and horrible to sit there deal with is when you get those individual stories, because we're not then just dealing with the whole, we're looking at single individuals. There's a personality, there's a name, there's a human being that goes with it. This poem removes the human identity. They are just the Light Brigade. They are 600 men, sort of thing. And so again, yes, just as we got it, there's no mention of who gave the command, who made the error that leads to this, you know, slaughter.
Well, yeah, it was a miscommunication, sir, which led to the massacre.
Well, I think, yeah, anybody...
They were meant to fight a different force, and then they ended up fighting this one.
Well, again, the thing was, wasn't it? Anybody with an ounce of common sense, you know, and who would have thought when they got the order, let's just question this, the logic of it. I mean, for those of you who don't know, basically, I'm sure I did one of my great drawings. I always do a great drawing for this one in the classroom when doing it. Basically, what this takes place, this is at the Battle of Balaclava, and the British are fighting the Russians in this war. It's a Crimean War, and the command goes, I mean, basically, you've got the Russians and the Turks have got the high ground, and in the valley, on both sides of the valleys, they've got cannons on top of the ridge. Okay, and at the end of the valley as well, there are cannons. So you're just going down a valley where you've got cannons up above you, pointing down, and you get cannons at the end. And obviously, as you know, they're cavalry, they're on horseback, all they've got are swords. That does not make sense. But anyway, the command comes down the line that they have to take the Russian guns. And so the guy just points up to the end of the valley, says, right, got to take those guns. And true to form, the British Army, or the Light Brigade, just goes off at an absolute gallop. And it is absolute carnage. And of course, they don't take the guns, but as soon as they've gone up, of course, they've got to come back. So if they're not, you know, if they're not being slaughtered on the way up, they're getting slaughtered on the way back. It was a real military blunder that went on there, just to give that sort of background to it. So then we have another technique being used by our poet here, and again, this will be quite an easy one to recognise, I think. So we have there's not, there's not, there's not. If I can ask Hugh what technique is being used there, please, Hugh. Hello, Hugh.
Yeah, well, sorry.
Are you paying attention, Hugh?
I am, sir.
Yeah. Right, what technique's been used by the poet here when it goes, there's not to make reply, there's not to reason why, there's but to do or die?
Repetition.
Yay, on the money. Well done. Okay. And again, it reduces them to this, it's the use of the pronoun, isn't it? You know, it reduces them basically to a mass group. There's no independent thought. It's a collective use, isn't it? And again, it does kind of give you a sense of their kind of status as well, because it's saying there's not to make reply, there's not to reason why, there's but to do or die. I mean, that is your definition there of cannon fodder, isn't it? What we've got here is a group, isn't it? That they are just seen as this sort of a group not allowed to think for themselves, not allowed to have a voice. Yeah, their sole duty is to do or die. And what we can think of there. You know, it depends what kind of particular side of the fence you're going to sit on there. But, you know, for some, they'll see that as the kind of the ultimate patriotic act. You know, it's dying for your country, it's going off, defending your country, but to others, they'll just see it as, yeah, it's wholesale slaughter, it's cannon fodder, it's poor tactics, that sort of idea. Okay, and then into the valley of death. Into the valley of death. Oops. Valley of Death. Clem, what poetic technique is being used there, would you say?
I don't. I'm not sure.
Right. So we've got a valley of death. Is it? I suppose literally it is kind of that. But I mean, again, think about it. It's poetry. What's been painted into your mind? What's been given to you? Does it give you a picture of what it's like over there?
Like imagery?
Yeah, that's it. That is it. It's as easy. It's as straightforward as that. Sense of surprise. Yeah, it is. It's just that sort of really powerful image being used. And here we can take this image as being metaphorical and literal at the same time, because it would literally be a valley of death with the numbers that are dying and there sort of thing. But also it's meant to be metaphorical as well. And again, more of that repetition, which again keeps up the pace, the rhythm, the delivery. You know, we've got the cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them. Again, sense of repetition. And cannon in front of them. So they're completely and utterly surrounded. And again, the repetition, it does go against the actual content of the poem here, when you think about it, because it maintains this driving sense of rhythm.
Isn't it just like reminding you of how vulnerable they are compared to the other?
Oh yeah, but does this poem come across as you should be kind of downhearted? That as you say, they are completely and utterly vulnerable here, and it is. If you think about it in the terms of that line from Kamikaze, you know, it's a one-way trip into history. But does the rhythm suggest this?
No.
No. I mean, what does the rhythm suggest that you should see this poem as? Any idea, anyone? Do you think then, I'll put it another way, this poem, is it a celebration of war, or is it, as we'll see with that Wilfred Owen, he's regarded as writing poetry which is anti-war? Is this poem pro-war or anti-war?
Pro-war.
Pro.
It's a celebration, isn't it? Celebration of a disaster. Oops.
It's very patriotic.
Yeah, and that's, again, it's just as we got down before, isn't it? It's that idea of the patriotism here, isn't it? That's why we sort of honour and give them this sort of great valedictory address.
Is this poem American?
No,
or-
British. It is Alfred Lord Tennyson. I think he was one of the first poet laureates of the UK, or Great Britain as it's known at that point. I say it's yeah, very, very British. And this event took place mid-1860s. That's when the Crimean War was on. I think the Crimean War was 1863 to 68, 69-ish. John will correct me, I'm sure, because I think he knows quite a bit on this. John, when was the Crimean War?
The Crimean War.
Yeah.
1850.
Oh, was it?
1850s, I think.
Right. Okay, and the Crimean War is one of the first wars as well to be covered in the press. There's actually a news corps out there with them, and there's a very famous journalist, Simpson, who goes out and reports on the war, but also sends back great images from the war itself as well. Okay, but yeah, so we've got that cannon to the left, the right and left in front of them. You know, it's that driving rhythm which seems to go against that content, and it gives this a sense of joyousness. It's almost been seen as an uplifting event, even although it is resulting in, you know, countless numbers of people dying. And again, you look at the sort of positivity of the language again. You know, boldly they rode and well. Everything about this is screaming out positivity. Boldly they rode well. And where do they ride to? Into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell. Technique, please. What technique is that? Charlotte, I haven't heard from you yet. Charlotte, what technique is that? The jaws of death and the mouth of hell.
Qualification?
Does death have jaws?
No.
No. Does hell have a mouth?
No.
But who does?
Humans.
Yeah, and so the technique is?
Qualification.
That's it, and one. And again, it's more of this sort of glorification, isn't it? It says boldly they rode, and it's a sense of willingly rushing on to certain death. Because what do these soldiers get in their death? What do they receive? What do you think? What's the concept being sold here? Penny, what do you think? What will they what do you think they're receiving in their death?
Like, it's like a noble death. So
It's a
they'll
noble
go to
death,
heaven
isn't
and
it? It's a noble death, and it's glorification, isn't it? Oops. Here it's all about sacrifice, isn't it? Glorification of it all. Yeah. And again, more of this sort of positive language and sort of positive images being created, and the repetition, you know, flashed their sabres bare, flashed as they turned in the air, sabering the gunners there. Yeah, all of it, all the time, you know, that's shown against this insurmountable odds, all they go. And then all the world wondered. What does that line suggest, would you say, John? All the world wondered. What do you think all the world wondered?
I don't know. Well, it wasn't really the big wall. There's been bigger walls, but I don't know.
Anybody else want to chip in and help John there? What do you think? That line, all the world wondered. What does that suggest that the world is doing as it learns of this event, as it hears tales of what went on at this battle?
Can it imply that they're
Like
quite
what?
disconnected?
Ooh, why do you think disconnected?
Because I don't know, but because they're like wondering about something, they're not there, they're not experiencing it.
Ah,
So it's like they're
now,
disconnected from humanity as a whole.
yeah, you can have that. See, you can have that aspect of yeah, the word wonder, because I wonder why you did that. So it's that sense of being perplexed, all that sort of thing. Yeah, but also, what else can the word wonder mean?
Like they're impressed by it.
Sorry, say that again.
That they're impressed.
Yeah, yeah. So it can be taken more than one way. Yeah, so it's that idea, is the world perplexed or amazed by these actions? And it could be, if you go down that sort of perplexed route, it's that idea nobody else gets what we've done here. It's because we are, it's this true British kind of grit, this idea that, they are magnificent soldiers, incomparable, nobody is like us. And so they don't kind of get what's taking place here, what is going on. But again, it could also be that they are just, dumbstruck, amazed by what they do. So you can go either way there, the way that Clem was suggesting, or the way that Penny has also brought up as well. And again, here we have it again, that sort of assertive language, plunged, more commands, isn't it? And again, if you think about sabering and flash, they're imperatives, commands all the way through as well. Right in the line they broke, Cossack and Russian, and they reeled from their saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Careful to leave off the actual number that does come back. It just says that there's not the same amount that come back as went up that valley, sort of thing. And it's seen as this great valorous act. Yeah. Then sort of echo of elsewhere in the poem. And again, the only slight changes, they're coming back, isn't it? So we have the cannon to the right and cannon to the left, and this time the cannon is also behind them as they come back. So that is just that echo of stanza 3 there. Okay. Only the slight difference being that the cannon's at the back. And again, echoes of the same line, repetitions of the same line, stormed out the shot and cell, while horse and hero fell. Again, keeps it nameless, keeps the identity unknown, and again, but gives them the name that they will all be remembered by. They are heroes, one and all. Okay. Oops. Take that a wee bit further out. Okay, over here. Oops. Yeah, so it is that how they're all being defined here. They're all being defined here as heroes, one and all. And again, back through that use of personification, they're coming back through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell, and all that was left of them, left of the 600. Again, numbers not important here for this, to get this sense across. All of it is to do with the fact, it's who remains, who comes back. And then the final stanza, when can their glory fade? Another rhetorical question here. And of course, the answer to that the rhetorical question will be what? When can their glory fade? What is the reply?
Never.
Exactly, Philippa. Spot on. That's what everybody thinks in their mind. Never, so long as they sort of read this poem and retell of these deeds, yeah, their fame will abound. Yeah.
Sir,
Yes.
could you say that like the constant repetition of like road the 600 all the way to the end?
Yeah.
Could you say that like they're in denial about losing anyone because they like have so much belief?
Oh,
They're so strong they haven't lost anything or anyone.
yes, you could think that exactly, couldn't you? And also, it's a defeat is not being seen as a defeat here, is it? It's been seen as a great, military glorification. It's what makes them British soldiers through and through, sort of thing. And of course, the numbers. Yeah, you don't. They're uncomfortable truths that you don't want to bring into it, because the whole essence of the poem is about celebration, and seeing this as a success, even although it's not. So that you're quite right in the way you're thinking about that, Clem. Yeah. Okay. Good. Oh, the world charged. I mean, all the world wondered, and again, repetitions of key lines, and then we have the final call to arms, and again being given as imperatives to the reader this time now. Honour the charge they made. Honour the Light Brigade. Okay, so the reader, the audience here, being told what to do. Oops. Okay. And so you've been told that you must think of this as honour. It's honourable death. It's noble death. That is what this is all about, and that is what you must do. Okay, now that we've been through that, I'm going to pop a little question in the chat for you that I want you to respond to. Okay, so I've 2 points to my question. I've just popped into the chat now for you. Now that we've explored this poem, Charge of the Brigade, I want to find out, how do you react to the central message of the poem? What do you think it is suggesting about power and conflict? Because we know that these are the ones that we're looking at here in this whole cluster. Thank you very much. Good to see you are hopping on straight away. Well done. Okay, oh, big one there from Oliver. Yeah, thanks. So you disagree with over a message. It's in terms of power. It's a position where it can easily ruin, if not end lives. Good. And it's a conflict that is in it. For power to be strong, the person in power should have as little conflict towards as possible. It does make sense. It does and does. And so again, but yeah, you can see. I mean, you can look at it two ways. You could say that this is a poem, yeah, as you're thinking of, which shows you how power can easily be abused, and then just lead to this conflict and a pointless and needless conflict. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Oliver. Yeah. And then obviously, thank you, Penny, because you're coming in from that sort of alternative viewpoint. Good to all of us there. It's just it is about the perspective. Yeah. Even although they're defeated, they feel powerful as they believe that they're dying in a noble way. And yeah, and it's a cause for which they believe in. It's more important. Yeah, rather than anything else. That's what overrides it. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Clem. It does. It's in conflict here. What is brave and picturesque thing to do. And again, if we think of that Victorian concepts and time frame, that's exactly the mentality that we had at that point. Britain at that point is a very powerful colonial power overseas. The world is very much a pink globe, and so that's where they see it. Yeah. Thank you, Charlotte. Power comes from the people who have access to the power and abuse it and use it in a dark way. Yeah, they can see the conflict. They're brave enough to stride through it. Good. And again, that's another way to think about it, isn't it? There's a force, a hidden force behind this poem as well, which doesn't take part. Good. Penny coming back here as well with romanticizing dying. It was for a good cause. Yeah. Used to be regarded as kind of the Roman way of death, that sort of thing. It's regarded as a good death, yeah, but again, it's come back to the old concept we've discussed as well already about patriotism. So some really good points being made here. Thank you. Okay, Philippa, yeah. Yeah, it encourages readers here to honour and respect the 600 who died, and it doesn't honour those who are higher up, which is an important point to make there, because isn't it? It's very much focused on the rank and file soldiers there. It's not looking at the generals. It's not looking at the military command from where these orders have come from. It is, the rank and file soldier, which is it's something to think about here. Very good. John, yeah, thank you. It's turning a military disaster into something heroic, yeah. And it's about that sort of military power. And it's turning the soldiers into heroes, similar to what Philippa is saying here, and not the heroes of the upper class. Yeah, which is that. And it is, isn't it? It's a poem which you can think about as well. It is trying to make sense out of the loss, of the sacrifice that has been done here. It's something to try and say, look, this wasn't in vain. This was not pointless. Good. Coming back from that, thank you. Then just got time, I think. What I'd like you to do for me now, is look. I want you just to read through. We'll just get sort of a quick read through and feedback on your ideas today. I want you to read through Wilfred Owen's Exposure, where you'll see a completely different take here to the sense of conflict. Again, Wilfred Owen, well known World War I poet. So I want you to read through that now and just jot down your initial thoughts as you're reading through it. Again, highlight anything on the text itself that you might think, oh, wow, that is a really powerful line. And we will just get time to get that, I think, before we adjourn for lunch. Okay, so quick read through, jot down your response to it, and we'll quickly do around the room, and then we'll go to lunch. Okay, can we just get some rapid fire initial first thoughts back? If I just go around the room now. Okay, so Oliver, your kind of initial reaction to the poem exposure.
Well, one of the main things I noticed is that it says nothing, but nothing happens.
Mm,
Kind of showing like there's this pain in like pain and anticipation for like what's gonna happen.
yeah, yeah, good. Also, it's not boredom. A little bit of maybe that war is just boring. You're just a lot of waiting around, waiting for things to happen. It's not glorious like Charge Light Brigade. It's dull. It's tedious. Yeah, good. Penny, what's your reaction to this poem?
Yeah, I put that it was like making it seem like war was a waste of time, and then for the title, I put that it's like exposure, so it's like being vulnerable.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Penny. Thank you very much. Good. Clem, how about you?
It's really emotional, and like the last page on the last like line, it says, "Is it that we are dying?" So it's like they're so unsure and uncertain of like life and death, and they're just really confused.
Good. Thank you. Yeah. Good. John, what about you?
Well, it's really graphic. It's everything wrong with it.
Yeah, and that is the same. That is a lot. I mean, of what O'Donnell's poetry is. I mean, because we think of poetry has been beautiful, but he will be graphic in his description of what war was like, and it's brutal imagery. But again, there's a poetry in that, and we can begin to sort of discuss that. But yeah, good call, graphic. Hugh, what about you? How do you react to it?
That it's like hell and like
Yeah, good. Yeah, whoops. Yeah, good. Thank you. Philippa?
I thought it showed the pointlessness of war through suggesting that the main thing that they were fighting was like the weather rather than the enemy.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. That idea as well. Yeah, I mean, there's other elements at war here. Yeah, good. Pointlessness of it all. Good. Thank you. Jess? Come on, Jess. We will never know what Jess is thinking. Right. Just begin to wrap up, obviously, because we're getting to lunch now. Good response here. Also, we'll compare and contrast these two because they go quite neatly together against the whole idea of power and conflict. Really good work today. It was a really good lesson. You all kept going and good work out there, I thought. Well done. I think I might indeed just give little bits of merits all round to people on e-praise, just to, for your involvement there. Really well done. Obviously, we've got Parents' Evening tonight. I'm happy. I don't know how you're doing this as well. I'm happy for you to be there with your parents, listening in on discussion. And again, if there's anything that you yourself, and I know we only have 10-minute slots, sort of thing, but if there's anything that you want to bring up, during my sort of feedback to your parents tonight, you're more than welcome. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're more than welcome. Right. Off to lunch now. And have a good afternoon, and maybe catch up with some of you tonight. Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks,
thank you.
Right.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
lunch.
Bye. See you
Bye.
later.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.